In Google Forms, there's a number of question types. So you can see next to where it says Untitled Question, there it says multiple choice. That's the default. If you want to change it, you can click exactly on multiple choice, or you can click on the tiny triangle. Same thing happens. It opens all of the options. So you could do short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkboxes, drop down, file upload, linear scale, multiple choice grid, Checkbox Grid, and date and time. So let's take a look at some of these. Now, Google Forms is smart. So if my first question is, what's your name? Guess what happens? It automatically changes to short answer. So now I just Control Shift Enter for my new question. And this might be, where do you live? And I can click and say New Mexico, Texas. And if you want to click that Add Other, that option allows people to type in their answers. So that is our multiple choice. Now, short answer and paragraph are similar because they allow users to type in answers. Paragraph is obviously longer than short answer, but next we have checkboxes. So this is more of a select all that apply type of question. So, what vehicles do you own? So then I might put in car, truck, SUV, add that other option. And if you ever screw up, you can always click that X to remove something. Or as you see, when I click, I can edit those answers as well. Next, the question type is Dropdown. So this gives the user a drop-down menu. So this might be, what period do you have English? And then I can add my options of period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4, and period 5. We'll just leave it like that. So we'll see. I'll show you the example. Next is the file upload. So it automatically tells you this lets respondents upload files to Drive. Files will be uploaded to the form owner's Google Drive, so my Google Drive. Respondents will be required to sign into Google when the file upload questions are added to a form. Make sure to only share this form with people you trust. So once you click continue, now you are given that file upload option. So I might say share an example of student work. Now, you can allow only specific file types, but honestly, I would just leave that off for the most part and focus on this. How many files do you want? Just 1, 5, 10 files? You can also change the maximum file size to 10 gigabytes if needed. So if you're sharing photos and things like that, you might need to change that. Now it's telling me this form can accept up to 1 gigabyte of files. So if you need to, you can click change right now, and that will open up this option of, hey, what's the total size limit for these? And I can make it 10 gigabytes, 100 gigabytes, or even a terabyte. Why not, right? And then we'll click back to questions, and that is your file upload. Next, we have that linear scale. So this would be like not much, very much, something along those lines, or dissatisfied, satisfied. How often do you read? So that's our linear scale. Next, we have the multiple choice grid. So the multiple choice grid allows users to choose one option in the row. So I might have often, sometimes, rarely, never. Select one answer might be the question. So here I would say, how often do you read? How often do you watch TV? How often do you walk outside? I don't know. These are just to give you an example of that multiple choice grid. Now next, and you see how it looks now. So select one answer. So respondents will see how often, and then they have those questions there. So it works really, oh, and I can see I neglected to get rid of column 2. So you know what I have to do. Click that X, it's gone, and there we go. So once I click into this question, you'll see that it's presenting a little bit better. So after that multiple choice grid, we actually have the checkbox grid, which sets up similar to the multiple choice, but this time you can select all that apply. And in fact, I'm going to teach you a little skill here. You see these options on the bottom? I can duplicate trash, require a response in each row. I can turn that on or off. And then, of course, there is this little magical Kabob that we'll talk about too. But for this, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this and change it to select all that apply and not quite change the checkbox grid, just to show you what that would look like. So after checkbox grid, we have the date. So I can say, when were you born? And after date, it's time. What's your prep period, we'll say. I believe that's it. So those are all of the question types. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the options on the bottom. So for example, do you like working at GISD? And sometimes you'll get these suggested, so I can add all, yes, no, maybe. So we already talked about the duplicate, and this M is for Moat. That's an extension that I have included in Google Chrome. So ignore that, you don't need Moat. But you will see duplicate, you'll see trash if I made a mistake. You can make a question required or not required. And then in these 3 dots, you can add a description, which is just a tiny little text. I'm going to put in, this is the description. You can choose to go to section based on answer. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the course. And you have that option to shuffle option order. For this particular question, that's not a good option, but if you were making a quiz for your students to do, you might make sure that you shuffle that so kids aren't, side-eyeing what their neighbor is doing and those kinds of things. So those are all of the question types in Google Form. We will continue working with these, but if you have any other questions or video suggestions, make sure to let me know.